Well, I have to eat my words about the Polymega. A couple weeks ago, I made a video and I said that, you know what, I was wrong. The Polymega is coming out in 2020, maybe not in the numbers that we hoped, but their manufacturing partner put out the word to its investors that they had secured the Polymega contract and that these consoles would be coming out in time for the holiday season. Well, turns out I was wrong about being wrong, which I guess makes me initially right when I said I don't see how this console is coming out in the pandemic, if at all. And it's just really surprising because I thought when you saw that press release and when you saw some financial outlets talking about this company in China that had secured the Polymega contract, I figured, well, at least something was going to happen. But that is unfortunately not the case, and if you wanted a Polymega, you're going to have to wait. So, what is the official reason? Well, on the new Polymega website, and I will link to that below, Polymega states that a major retail partner who has sold many systems has had ongoing issues with communicating the status of the product. And barring an immediate turnaround or a change in their behavior, the Polymega will be delayed until early 2021. And they actually list on the website February of 2021. Now, the major retail partner is most likely Walmart. And it's pretty interesting because about 10 days ago, I came across a tweet talking about this very issue. I couldn't figure out the source. It seemed to be screenshots of what looks to be a Discord discussion. But in there, Polymega, or someone purporting to be Polymega, is explaining that Walmart has gone silent on them, hasn't placed their orders, and since they buy all of their units, and Polymega buys all of their units in bulk as part of a bulk manufacturing contract, Walmart's silence is devastating to getting this product launched on time. And in this exchange, the person who's supposedly Polymega, is claiming that they haven't put this out to the community and they haven't let the customers know because they don't want to embarrass Walmart. Now, the question, of course, is, do you believe this? Can we really believe that Walmart, one of the largest retailers in the world, would just go silent on a customer? Now, obviously, Polymega is not Sony, not Microsoft. They may not have the kind of clout that the big players have. But you'd have to imagine that Walmart, they deal with millions of different sellers. They have a wide and varied inventory of products selling on their site all the time. For all their Walmart's evils and all their problems, it's kind of hard to believe that they would just completely fall silent on something like this. Now, look, I'm sure that there are a million things we don't know about the logistics of an operation like this. I get that there are some sleazy players in the retail field. I remember talking to a guy that owns a local hobby shop and, talking about horror stories about American Express. But, my point is just that as a successful business, you have to learn how to navigate some of these unpredictable circumstances. And because of Polymega's track record, I just kind of have the feeling that, maybe Walmart has some rather strange or opaque or difficult procedures for dealing with a mid-sized or small business who's selling on their site. But it strikes me as you could kind of see Polymega having an oversight that blew up in their face, and now they're shifting the blame to Walmart. Again, no proof, but their track record, Polymega's track record, speaks for itself. The takeaway, to me, is this track record on the one hand, but also the current climate, the retail climate for technology products on the other. Yes, Polymega, I don't know how you can believe them anymore. To me, they have basically destroyed so much trust and so much faith that people have put in them. And, some people still stand by them, but the more you read the posts, the more people comment on the videos I've made about them, that is wearing thin. So, yes, Polymega screwed up in that regard, and that's on them. But I think they're also trying to release this, obviously, in the pandemic, which doesn't make things easier. And there's a lot of things out of their control. And it just seems like a trend. Look at how many products have come out or have struggled to come out on time and that have had limited quantities and insane demand. Whether that's the new consoles releasing this week, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, whether that's the RTX 3080s, 3090s, which were available for all but a few minutes last month, the new AMD Ryzen 5000 chips that are virtually impossible to get. There is, it just makes you think that there's something going on where these items are produced. And companies, and this is the fault of all these companies, rather than just saying, you know what, we're going to wait to launch this until we have stock, they're trying to hit that holiday window. And I think there's a marketing element of it too. It's either, actual scarcity that's being used to create hype, that's being used to drive up demand so that when the second, third, fourth batches of orders come in, they'll be bought up instantly. Or it's actually manufactured scarcity for the same purpose. So if Polymega thought that they were going to play that game and try to trickle these out, now the way they released them to all of the influencers and they got all this great press, you kind of suspect that was part of the plan. But then when you introduce that strategy into today's climate, it probably only contributes in delaying your production and delaying getting the product to your customer. And the other lesson here, and I mean, it's more of an observation than anything, is that think of some of the more spectacular examples of failed systems and how they treat their user base. The first one that I remember was the retro VCS or VGS, that product by Mike Kennedy that was just even more insane than this one. It became the Coleco Chameleon. The whole controversy now behind the Intellivision re-release, and even other smaller, niche products that seem to exist and then don't exist. Some, upscalers and retro RGB Saturn cables. Although I don't want to put the retro RGB cables into this kind of group of companies because they actually have delivered products. But, you have this sense that you build community trust and then you abuse that trust for as long as possible until A, you don't release the product, or B, you kind of get your business plan in order and finally get it into the hands of people. And I don't know if the Intellivision thing, if that's even coming out. Who knows if the Polymega is coming out. But you can search for all sorts of examples of that. The only successful crowd-funded console that I can think of that actually respected its consumer base was the Ouya. I mean, that may have been delayed at some point, but ultimately, if you wanted an Ouya, at a certain point, you got it. You either got your pre-order or you could just easily buy it from the company, and I think that was a fairly successful console. It maybe didn't rise to the levels of what they had discussed when it was launched, but it was a perfectly serviceable console and a good emulation box until better solutions were available. So I think what it shows is that it's very difficult for a small entrepreneurial individual or enterprise to kind of crack the console market. And they probably feel a lot of pressure to build the community first, to build mindshare, build trust first, and then use that to go out and finally get their manufacturing in order. Maybe that's the only way that it works. But I kind of feel like it's incumbent upon Polymega now, and whoever tries this in the future, to level with people, to say, look, we think this idea is great, we believe we can bring it to market, but you know what? You're going to have to wait 2 or 3 or 4 years. If you believe that this is something that needs to exist, if you believe that this will fulfill a need, if you believe that this will make your experience and enjoyment of the hobby better, give us 3 or 4 years, give us your trust. We can't tell you a date. We're not going to string you along and every 6 months trickle out some new set of hopes and dreams and lies. That we're going to release it when it's finished, and you're going to help us build our business, because that's essentially what this is. I've said it from the beginning. They're not selling me a product. They're offering me a deal, and the deal is, give us your money, we're going to start our company, and if things work out, you'll finally get this product down the road at some point. And I never thought that was a good deal. That's not a deal worth taking. So I hope the Polymega is a lesson to the next group of people who try this. You may have a great idea for a product. That's wonderful. But start off from a position of honesty. Start off and say, look, the economics of this endeavor are X, Y, and Z, and this is what we need you to do to help get the product out the door. Or better yet, just find investors, be quiet about the kickstarting, start a company, build a product, and sell it once it's ready to go. I'm not sure how many more times the retro gaming community is willing to have its intelligence insulted by entrepreneurs who mean well, but who don't have a serious business plan in place.